Welcome back to the Unbiased Opinion, where everyone's opinion is biased, except ours. I'm Colin, and I'm alone this week, so I thought it'd be fun to take a look at another monster movie. This time, it's Gappa The Triphibian Monsters, which was actually recommended by a viewer on my Gorgo video. So after I read the comment, I said, you know what, let me just buy the movie. I bought the DVD, and here we are. I'm going to be talking about Gappa, which, while watching it, it is a cheap... I don't even want to use the word cheap. It is a ripoff of Gorgo. It has the same basic skeleton and honestly the same story structure as Gorgo. Also, the version of the movie I'm going to be talking about is the English dubbed Tokyo Shock DVD version of Gappa. It is 83 minutes long, and the online copy that I downloaded to show you guys some clips from the movie is 90 minutes, so I'm not sure where exactly they got those extra 7 minutes. But I'm going to be talking about the English dubbed version. So with all that being said, let's get right into Gappa. What did I think of Gappa? I think it is okay. It wasn't nearly as bad as I thought it was, or I anticipated it on being. I do think Gorgo is a better movie, and even then I was a little lukewarm on Gorgo. I thought Gorgo is a okay to good movie, and this one is more along the lines of okay. I definitely think that Gappa is better than a lot of the Gamera movies. At least the Showa Gamera movies. I think that a lot of them are really just bad. And I don't... Not to go too much into Gamera, but I think the only good Showa-era Gamera movie is Gamera vs. Gauss, which came out in 1967. I think Gappa is a competent monster movie. It has a lot of charm, even if it is a blatant copy of Gorgo. In my Gorgo video, when I was talking about it, I criticized Gorgo for kind of being too bland and just vanilla, where it has the overall impression of Godzilla, but just has larger claws, kind of frilled ears. Gappa is like a weird amalgamation of Godzilla, Rodan, and Ghidorah. He has the overall body shape and impression of Godzilla, but has Rodan's beak. The skin of Gappa looks like King Ghidorah's scales, and he has Rodan's wings, and most shamelessly of all, Gappa can shoot a blue heat ray, looks identical to Godzilla's heat ray of the time also. So it's like my complaining of Gorgo being too bland. My wish was half granted in this movie, but it's just a blatant copy of Godzilla, Rodan, and Ghidorah. When I said I wanted Gorgo to be more unique, I wanted a unique ability of Gorgo, because Gorgo predated Gamera, so it'd be cool if he could have flown in some odd way, or he had some kind of special ability, maybe a burrowing ability. But Gorgo just kind of runs around and destroys buildings with his hands. And in this movie, Gappa can fly, can swim underwater, hence the Triphibian title of the movie. And all that's fine. It's just the shamelessness of the blue atomic ray that they directly stole from Godzilla. The inspirations from Godzilla, Ghidorah, and Rodan aside, I think Gappa looks kind of creepy. There's a couple of scenes where the little boy, who looks controversial to say the least, is interacting and looking at Gappa. Gappa just looks like... I don't even know how to describe it. Gappa looks creepy. Gappa doesn't look friendly, especially as a baby. It doesn't even look friendly or cute. It looks disturbing. The beady eyes, the beak, the sound it makes too. It doesn't come across as friendly. And Gorgo definitely had that balance of kind of looking cute, especially the baby one, but it could be really fierce when it had to be, like the mother rampaging through London at the end. I also think the movie took a little bit too long to get started. Gorgo is a shorter movie, but that also got into everything a lot faster. This one takes its time, and the baby Gappa is first shown 26 minutes in out of an 83-minute movie. Not even teased beforehand. First shown when baby Gappa hatches from its egg. So I guess I'll give a quick plot synopsis, and then I'll talk about other things I liked and didn't like. The movie follows a Japanese publisher for the magazine Playmate, where he wants to send several of his employees to a South Seas island to collect rare animals for an island resort. And the movie has a bunch of stock characters, and when the main characters are going to the island, there's this guy fishing, and he sees yellow eyes in the water, and then there's a giant earthquake, just like Gorgo. On the island, they meet the natives, and they soon enough meet the little boy, and they go to this little area in an underground cave, and that's where they see the baby Gappa, and then he soon hatches when there's an earthquake. So they decide to take the baby Gappa to Japan so he can be exploited and studied and whatever. As they take the baby Gappa to Japan, the two parents emerge, and then they go after the baby. And that is essentially the whole movie. The parents are after the baby, just like how it was in Gorgo, but at least in this one, there are more quote-unquote action scenes and monster scenes than there is in Gorgo. But this movie has some bizarre dialogue, especially the reporter character. He says a lot of odd things to the female character.
And go back to Tokyo and learn to cook. Marry some little office worker. Have babies. Stay home and wash diapers.
I mean, geez, why doesn't he just tell her how he really feels? It generally has the same themes as Gorgo, such as humanity interfering with nature and the consequences of upsetting the balance of nature. The movie ends just like Gorgo, where the humans give the baby back to the parents, and at the end, at the airport, the parents teach little Gappa how to fly, and that is how the movie ends. The thing I always love about these Japanese monster movies, especially of this era, and especially in the height of all of the Japanese monster movies, is that they're fun, and I love watching these kind of movies. They're always charming, and even though they are completely outdated and the effects can be kind of bad, it still has that charm to them that it is irresistible to me. I love always watching these monster movies. I grew up watching monster movies, not like Gappa. This is the first time I've ever seen Gappa. But watching Godzilla, Gamera, War of the Gargantuous, all those other kind of Japanese monster movies. So how does Gappa compare to Godzilla of the time and even Gamera? And definitely Gappa is still a peg below Godzilla and even below Gamera. Godzilla is iconic for all the right reasons, and even Gamera, he is quite unique, despite himself being a ripoff of Godzilla. But Gappa is just... Again, you see the inspiration of the designs, and you see the story inspiration from Gorgo. But Gappa is just in that shameless territory where it just borrows too much, and therefore it is not unique at all. So, you heard a bunch of negatives, but what did I like about Gappa? I thought, despite the slow start to the movie, I thought the rest of it was paced fairly well. You understand what the characters want and what they're saying, even if they are stock. The effects, while obviously dated by today's standards, were really good for its time, I thought. Not quite as good as Gorgo, but still good enough for 1967. And if anyone doesn't know, those Japanese monster movies had a very low budget. They were getting cranked out, and this wasn't even made by Toho or Daiei Studios, the one who created Gamera. It's made by Nikatsu. I probably pronounced that wrong, but the point is it's not Toho or it's not even Daiei. It was just something else. I also liked how this movie featured more scenes of destruction than Gorgo, and even it had a good amount. It had at least two. It had the parents mostly doing all the... Not mostly. They had the parents doing all the destruction in the second half of the film, which I thought was great. Even if, again, the Blu-ray was really distracting to me because it was just a complete knockoff of Godzilla. I think the movie also needed more scenes of the baby isolated by itself, because this one was always surrounded by humans, but, and again, to compare to Gorgo because it's a complete ripoff, the baby Gorgo was by himself in this giant arena area, and you felt bad for the creature. You felt bad for baby Gorgo because he was obviously against his will. He was sad. And I think this movie, if you wanted to connect more to the younger audience, even to anybody, if you wanted the people to care about the baby, you'd have to have more of those scenes where it just shows them completely isolated, away from everyone, being treated as some kind of artifact rather than a living creature. Baby Gorgo was also way more mistreated than Baby Gappa is in this movie. And again, if you want to have those characters, if you want those characters to feel the wrath of the parents, I feel like you have to have them do more, I don't want to say evil or heinous things, but you have to have them mistreat the baby more, so then the audience, in a way, they're rooting for the parents because they're meddling, the humans are meddling with the parent's child, and you want the parents to get the revenge because the humans are messing up with the balance of the creatures and they're messing with nature. And you want the parents to get their wrath, and that's why I think you should have the humans be, at least in this movie, be a little more evil. They were more exploitative in Gorgo. Like, again, Gorgo was by himself in this in this giant arena by himself, being just alone and mistreated. I think it worked a lot better in Gorgo than in this movie. So it always comes to this part of the episode. Would I recommend Gappa The Triphibian Monsters? And you know what? I would say yes. If there's anyone who's out there who likes watching these kind of cult Japanese monster movies, then by all means, I'd say I'd watch it. It's better than a lot of the Showa Gamera movies, and I personally think I love Gamera. Not as much as Godzilla, but I love Gamera, and I love the Heisei movies. But I think a lot of his Showa movies are just trash. So at least this one is a lot better than a lot of the Showa Gamera movies. I would recommend it. It's not quite as good as Gorgo, but it is a lot better than I thought it would be, despite being a blatant ripoff of Gorgo and a ripoff of the designs of Godzilla, Rodan, and Ghidorah. I also think the reveal that there could be a mother in Gorgo was better done than the reveal in this movie. In Gorgo, a scientist says that they realize that the specimen they have is an infant, and they fear that when there's an infant, there are parents, and then they show the chart of the proportions of what a fully grown one would look like. And that is just imagine that. That must have been terrifying for those guys to realize that. But in this one, you know from the start that there's parents because you see an egg, and as soon as they take the egg, the parent shows up, or the two parents shows up. But just to reiterate, I liked Gappa, but not quite as much as Gorgo or a lot of the Godzilla movies. It is a fun-ish, okay-ish monster movie. It's not the worst that's out there, but it's not the best, and I would still recommend it, despite it being a shameless ripoff of Gorgo and a shameless design of Gappa ripped off from Godzilla, Rodan, and Ghidorah. So check out Gappa if you can. I know it's a short episode this week, but I'm by myself, so I think whenever I'm doing an episode by myself, I'll cover more of these kind of Japanese monster movies, or just monster movies in general that are a little obscure. So I hope you enjoyed the episode. And with all that being said, this has been the Unbiased Opinion, where everyone's opinion is biased except ours. I'm Colin, and I'll see you next week.